Welcome to Tech Trends. Tech Trends is a podcast series that provides perspective on the latest trends in technology, fintech, and digital. On today's episode, we're going to provide some insights into intelligent automation, what it is, how it works, and how it's becoming an imperative for organizations that want to reach higher levels of optimization and efficiency. I'm Anish Bhimani, Chief Information Officer for Commercial Banking, and joining me today is Shefali Shah, Head of Intelligent Automation for the Corporate Investment Bank at jpmorgan Chase. Shefali, welcome to Tech Trends.
Thank you, Anish. Great to be here.
So, Shefali, we hear a lot about intelligent automation. It's a term that's used often in the context of things like robotics or bots or RPA. Can you describe for our viewers what intelligent automation is and how long it's been a focus of study?
Sure. Intelligent automation actually is a spectrum of software and technology that allows you to mimic human activity. It is about manual and ineffective work done by human in an office environment, what we know as a white-collar work. And it applies to all industries and organizations. The spectrum of tool includes basic as, a software that mimics humans' activity of typing, searching, downloading, and such, to more advanced level activity around data transformation, data digitization, document digitization, and even some of we have seen in our personal life chatbots that allows us to automate conversation between humans. It is a latest trend that's evolving very quickly. This automation and this solution helps our organization, improve their efficiency, free up their, intellect, human capital to do more advanced level work. And it also enhances customer service and business benefits.
So one of the other terms we hear a lot, we talked about RPA, which is robotic process automation, right? People talk about robotics in this context, right? And a lot of people hear robotics and they think about physical robots and manufacturing plants and things like that. How does RPA differ from sort of traditional robotics in that sense? Can you explain what RPA is as well?
Sure. Yeah, it is not a physical bots running around your office or taking seats. It's actually a software that works non-invasively on our desktop or on top of our technology that we use, say even if it's Excel or your finance application, or in our case a processing application. So it's a non-invasive software that allows you to mimic our activity of typing. So it's definitely not physical bots. And that was a revolution we saw with manufacturing and farming. I think this is a new revolution around digitizing our work that we do, manually on our computer.
So thanks for breaking that down for us. Can you talk a little bit about your role in your team and how you focus on integrating intelligent automation into the day-to-day processes at the bank?
Sure. Yeah, I've been leading this organization of intelligent automation services for past 3 years. And part of my role is to bring in this latest technology through strategy and research and, looking at what's coming up in industry to the firm for corporate investment bank. I also sit at a firm-wide council to collaborate with my colleagues and peers across the firm. The way we've been doing for past 3 years that we started out with a basic bot solution, to take away some of our manual work, especially in our global services center. And we have evolved from there to integrating data transformation, data integration technology, and also now partnering with our machine learning and AI team to incorporate more advanced level of technology like NLP to automate unstructured data into more structured data. Other thing we do in my team is to partner with our operations manager and the teams doing the work to define best practices and deploy these solutions in a more controlled manner. So we centrally govern and manage all the initiatives to make sure they're getting done in an effective and an optimal manner.
So can you talk about some of the benefits of intelligent automation? Is this really more of a cost savings effort? Is it more of why would companies be interested in doing this?
Sure, absolutely. So some of the areas in corporate investment banking where we have deployed this solution over the last 3-4 years is around account setup, transaction processing, reconciliation, and also inquiry management and generating metrics and reporting. So if you hear some of these words, this tends to be very manual process. So in this case, allowing automation or RPA to automate these processes has freed up our teams to focus more on client service, we have scaled up our efficiency as well to free up the team to focus on more value add activity. And also this has been a great interim solution for us as we invest and digitize our old platforms into new platforms. So I think the solutions does provide us some quick wins and some immediate relief to our teams to free up their time to add to a value add activity.
So to summarize, really it's about automating the easy stuff so that the people can focus on the harder problems, right? Focus on more intellectually difficult or intellectually challenging kind of work that might even be more interesting for them, and helping them sort of, balance their workload and lighten some of the load on the operations teams. Is that it?
Yes, that's part of it. Another part of this is also upskilling our workforce and our teams to do more advanced level of technical work, exception resolution, and creative problem solving and a root cause analysis type of work. So yeah, definitely, it is to free up our human capital to do more value add intellect work, for sure.
The other thing that you mentioned is the idea of RPA as an interim step or quick wins or things like that. Often automation, if you'll call sort of proper automation, building it into the application, something like that, can take a long time, right? And it can be, hey, it's going to take months or years to get this going. Do you see RPA as sort of a way to, okay, let's get this quick win, throw off some capital so that you can invest in the proper automation or things like that? Is that it?
Yes, definitely. That is part of it. So we really partner with our technology team and our platform, technology. So it's not just putting bots randomly on a solution or a process. We really partner with our technology team, operations team to look at what is it worth doing now with RPA, and what is it where we can integrate solutions, especially with latest API functionality where you can integrate data. So yeah, it is partnering with the technology team to optimize our end-to-end processes, or also, not to invest in the technology for some ad hoc one-off processes that can be automated through RPA.
So in past episodes, we've talked about artificial intelligence and machine learning. Can you talk a little bit about how intelligent automation interacts or relates to AI and ML? Do they compete with each other? Are they complementary? How do you think about that?
Sure, great question. It can be a bit confusing, for sure. Lots of buzzwords there. So the way to think about it is intelligent automation, RPA, mimics humans' activity. So it's what we do. AI is more about how we behave and what our intelligence is. So it kind of reproduces our behavior. And ML, machine learning, it learns and does things based on data. So pattern, prediction, and so forth. Without getting into more technical, that's how I like to kind of break those down. And I truly think they complement and integrate well with each other. For sure. And one example I would give you is in our reconciliation process, where we started out with using RPA to kind of mimic the activity of researching and finding, breaks and reason for breaks that our teams were doing manually. To now, then we partner with our machine learning team to move that over into identifying based on the pattern that the bot, identified through a processing. We now are able to integrate machine learning to identify pattern and even resolve those exceptions more rapidly. So that's an example of how the two can be integrated. On a more advanced level side, we're using something called natural language processing now in conjunction with RPA to be able to read unstructured data, unstructured document and text, and also some of our unstructured emails that you may get internally or externally, to identify pattern and structure to then be able to allow the RPA or the bots to process that transaction now that we have a structured information. So that's how I see the three interacting, but it's an evolving space and we'll continue to learn more about it.
So to summarize, intelligent automation really mimics human activity, and AI and ML mimic human judgment, maybe is a way to think about it, right? But what you're saying is they can be very complementary. In your example of taking unstructured data, you can use machine learning techniques to feed into RPA or processes like that as well. Yep.
Very correct, exactly.
So let's talk about COVID. The COVID pandemic obviously challenged us to think and operate in a lot of different ways. In light of all that, can you talk about how intelligent automation can be used and has been used to help organizations be more resilient?
Yeah, absolutely. Thankfully for us, since we had, quite a few bots already running or IA solution already implemented during COVID, we were very thankful that all of those solutions were, running as planned, even though all of us were trying to figure out where we were working from and getting our home office set up. Our IA solutions were up and running with no disruption, which really helped us keep up with the volume and the uncertainty. During crisis, you don't have time to invest and kind of look at things end-to-end processes. You want to get something done quickly, and especially in our case with market volatility and the volume going up 3-4 times as a normal levels within the first week or few weeks of the crisis. We were able to enhance our solutions or add more bots, let's say, our digital workforce to cope up with that volume, where we can add human and train them as quickly as we would need it to. Couple of others area where crisis, during this crisis, this solution helped us is in our consumer bank, where we processed a lot of our small business loans, that we had to do, which was a brand new process that was, introduced, where we were able to automate those through leveraging IA solutions. And then finally, we also leveraged it for some of our payment relief program that we provided to our consumers as well. So yeah, during crisis and for those one-off, ad hoc, urgent type of processing requirement, these solutions could be great benefit to the organization.
So it sounds like that intelligent automation can be a tool that can help you sort of rapidly get up to speed on a new process or things like that, scale up things that you might have had to do before. I think what we have seen during COVID is there's been a lot of that, right? We got to get this going up and going in a week and do it at scale and other things like that. Yep.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So one of the themes that we talk about a lot is just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should do something, right? And there are a lot of use cases that I think benefit tremendously from intelligent automation, and maybe some others where it's not appropriate, right? It's been said that situations where you have a human and a machine working together rather than technology alone often delivers the most benefit to an organization. With that said, can you talk about the process for what it's like to implement intelligent automation and what are the functions or operations or roles that would benefit most from this kind of technology?
Yes, yeah. Implementation of intelligent automation, along with any technology upgrades or transformation, revolves around three things. It's people, process, and technology. Mm-hmm. So I think the key to successful implementation of intelligent automation is to, first and foremost, have a sponsorship and priority from the top. So your business, owner, your technology CTOs mm-hmm. must prioritize digitization and automation for their organization. And to do that, you need to kind of make that as your key objective and invest in the technology to partner with a right vendor or a solution provider, which there are many out there. So select the one that's best for you. Luckily with this solution, the upfront cost is it's minimal, not too high, which is manageable. And the return on that investment can be achieved very quickly. So recognizing that and prioritizing that is a key. The second is to really engage your process owner and the teams that are processing the manual work to make them understand the value of this digitization and automation, right, and take the fear out of bots are going to take my job away. Mm-hmm. It is about upskilling their skills and making them more digitally savvy. Everybody in their personal life has the smartphones, and we can do a lot of things with Alexas and and whatnot. I think in a work environment we need to introduce this digitization and automation to our teams. So that's a key engagement with the people is another key aspect of it up front. And the third is to then make sure you set up this center of excellence or a project or owner of this digitization activity, so that there is a central control and best practices and accountability across the team. And then finally, it's just finding the right solution and vendor. There is no wrong answer with this. To look at various solutions that are out in the industry, and look at the broad spectrum of solution like we talked about, from doing activity of simple bots to more data digitization, document digitization, and make sure a solution that provides a broad spectrum of solutions. I think those are, if you integrate people, process, and technology and make that as a center, I think this will be you can be very successful as introducing this.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it, I think, right? So you find the right process that's there, something that is, reasonably well defined. What a lot of people have said is if you can write out the process, then it's a good candidate for RPA or IA. And if you can't, and there's judgment involved, maybe it's not, right? But I think the getting the operations teams or the individuals on board is a very important part, right? Because it really does need to be a partnership between the technology team, the operations team, and the business process improvement folks. Yep.
Yeah, no, very true. I think you hit on a good point where there is a balance of not automating a bad process. So really reviewing your end-to-end process and taking a time to possibly redesign it and reimagine it, how it can be done through automation. So that's a key aspect up front, for sure. But there are times also where there's this balance of, it may take too long to redesign everything. Mm-hmm. There are other teams involved or external, dependencies on that, document you receive or so forth, where you can't change things rapidly. In that case, you need to break down the process and automate what's in your control, and then integrate other aspects of the end-to-end process. So yeah, absolutely. Engaging people doing the process and really evaluating your process is a very important factor.
Yeah, that's another great point, right? Because if you automate a bad process, all you end up with is a bad automated process, right?
Exactly.
So the other thing that's often been said is as soon as you put a bot in place, right, you want to think about how you get rid of it, right? As you said, it's a good sort of short-term solution while you can do that longer-term automation or model work or other things like that. You mentioned that this has been a field of study for 5 to 10 years, I think, as you talked about it before. And how has automation technology evolved over that time, and what are some of the more popular trends we see right now? Obviously, we've talked a lot about robotics and RPA, but there's a lot of new exciting technology coming in this space as well that can do a lot more, right?
Yeah, sure. It is evolving technology. And what I see the biggest aspect coming out of this is integration of this various solution into one platform. Mm-hmm. And one solution that kind of lets you do multiple things depending on your end-to-end process, not just mimicking it, but incorporating some level of your judgment, a decision making. So I think integrating some of these solution is becoming a key. Other thing you would hear, and I think I'm getting excited about, is automating process of automation. We talked about reviewing end-to-end process. We talked about re-engineering. What's evolving is digital process discovery and data-driven decisions, data-driven automation. So we're seeing a lot of integration of those aspects of it where you can do your process mining, your process evaluation more digitally based on the data that you have, or you watch how your humans are doing the work. So we've seen a lot of technology coming out that you can record processes as the person is doing it, so they don't have to write it down or explain. You kind of observe how they're doing it. So that allows us to then take that information and design your automated process more efficiently. The other area we're seeing is definitely integration of this machine learning and more advanced level of AI, but that I think it goes into more strategic platform as well. The other aspect of it is we talked about we want quick solution. We want to get up and running quickly. So a lot of what we're seeing is cloud enablement of this solution. You have to invest even less upfront in installing this software, in your premises or in your thing. But we need to make sure when you run things in cloud, it's in a controlled manner. It's, you can access it, who's doing what, and so forth. The third aspect of it is we're seeing more citizen developer and what's called as an attended bot versus unattended bot. Mm-hmm. In the past few years, we've deployed a lot of unattended bots where they run in the background. But attended bots are something you can request when you want to do the process. And also the citizen developer concept is coming up where we allow the person actually doing the process rather than relying on the technology team to build a bot. or build a solution, the citizen developer, so person can themselves, even with no technical background, with low code, no code, solution, can build their own solutions. So that's where things are evolving. What I really would like to see is a balance of the end-to-end process review and versus the one-off citizen develop processes. I think both has a value. We just need to find the right balance. That's where I'm seeing things evolving.
So there's a lot of interesting themes in there, right? I want to go back to this concept of process discovery, right? So I think a lot of people, might look at this space and say, all right, I have to have this well-defined process, and it's, an algorithm that can be followed, et cetera. And I think what you're saying is, well, with some of these new technologies, maybe you don't, right? You can sort of say, well, look, I don't know how things are done today, but I can sort of put a recording on the person doing their work and sort of infer what that process is, right? Which is a great way to get started with this. I think it's important to know, to the point that you had mentioned, that you still have to then go and look at, is that the right process? Just because that's how it's done today, you still want to do your process improvement, things like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's all about, I say, is combining art and a science.
Yeah.
Right. So you do still need intellect of your process owner, process redesign analyst to come in and help with this and balance the art and the science together.
And the other comment that I think, I like the way you talk about citizen developers, right? So with these low code or no code platforms, maybe you don't have as much dependency on a technology organization to come in and build new applications or tools or other things like that. How much do you engage the individuals, let's say the operations teams, whose processes you're tending to automate, in the solution of that? And how can that be used as a way to sort of drive greater engagement and buy-in on the process from the people, who might have felt in other times that, oh, the robots are coming to take my job or something like that, because they become part of the solution, rather than something being done to them?
Yeah, I think as we look at, more and more value of human, especially, in the last year, the well-being, the, work-life balance, right? Engaging the people doing the work is very critical, and them giving them the new skills, the technical skills, and this low code skills, and making them, feel engaged and empowered, I think it's the best way forward.
Yeah.
And still keeping your technology team informed and aligned, so they know where you're putting this solution. And this almost becomes a requirement for your future enhancements as well with your technology team. So I think engaging individuals doing the work and the teams that are supporting that technology platform is very critical. And I think in the long run, everybody wants a more value-added work. I think people are not fearing this technology and digitization. It's only going to create new roles and new jobs, I think, in all industries across the globe. So yeah, that engagement is very critical. And we're seeing that in our teams, where people are feeling a lot more valued by learning new skills. And we're almost mandating them to learn these new skills as they look for career advancements as well.
That's great. That's great. It's a great combination of evolution and automation of the environment, but also upskilling the team and getting people excited about what the future holds for them.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, let's all hope that through this technology and digitization, our world evolves and we free up our time from this manual work and mundane work.
Right.
To doing more value add and free up more time, for ourselves and solve more bigger problems that we have in the world today. And it will also, I think, help us create equalities and more opportunities. So very exciting times ahead for sure with this technology.
Yeah, that's great. Very exciting. Shefali, thanks so much for joining us and for providing your insights on such an exciting topic.
Thank you, Anish, for having me here. And I hope this information is useful to our viewers.
And to all of our viewers, thanks very much for joining us today. Remember, if you like this episode, you can subscribe and rate us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time.